Okay, let's see. All right, welcome to this evening's fertility support webinar. My name is Lisa Stack, and I am the support coordinator at CMI Fertility Center. Now, my role here is to offer you as much emotional peer support as I can. So my role essentially came out of the realization that we needed someone able to respond to your needs, to point you in the right direction for support, and also to kind of help coordinate and make cohesive support amongst all three centers. So what I do is I am available via phone and email, and I can stop in and meet you. If you need just a chat and you need a little bit of extra support, you need someone to run your ideas by, you need someone just to vent to. I'm a good listener. And I also can help make suggestions for ways for you to relax, to unwind, to release a lot of stress and anxiety during your cycle, and also some good complementary treatment options as well. If you're feeling a lot of tension, if you're feeling a lot of stress within your body, I may make some suggestions such as yoga for fertility, massage, and acupuncture. I recommend to all of our clients that they speak with a counselor on a regular basis. I have an extensive list of support counselors that we often refer to. And if you're not local, or if someone on the list, you really just can't find someone on our list that you seem to work well with or that works for your situation, I'll do my best to try and find a counselor for you, because I do believe that it is very important for you to speak with a counselor on a regular basis, on a regular schedule, just so you can have that third party that is not in the middle of everything. Even, sometimes your partner is a little bit too close to say some of these thoughts that we may have in the back of our minds. And it is important to always just get these thoughts and emotions and concerns out there and to keep talking. So a counselor is a great way to have someone who is completely unbiased, completely just neutral ground, listen to you, give you good feedback, and give you good coping tools. And they're always there. So again, I always have that list available of good counselors in the area. For my history, I started working at CMI Fertility now it's been a while now, maybe 6 years ago. I started, probably close to 7. I started when I was in college, working on breaks, just drawing bloods and doing medication instructions and just helping support the clients. And then when I returned from college, I started working full-time as a donor coordinator. So I coordinated donor cycles. And then we realized that there really was a great need for patient support, for client support. And I had helped out with a few of the Circle of Hope support groups beforehand anyways. And I moved into this position of offering client support 24/7. I do have a bit of a fertility history. Mine is quite limited compared to what I know many of you have gone through, but I can relate to some of the emotions and some of the feelings that you're experiencing. Not all of them. Again, mine is not as elaborate and as extensive and long as many of your journeys has been, but I do have PCOS, and we did conceive our first daughter with Clomid. And I remember just the challenges of going through a few cycles with that as well. And then we conceived naturally when she was about 19 months old. That was a surprise. But I felt my PCOS was nice and under control then. But then we had a surprise miscarriage at 9 weeks. And then we decided to proceed after that, just kind of place our trust in someone else and see when we would conceive again, and we did conceive again quickly after that. And with the great help of, I attribute a lot of this to Dr. Kiltz and Dr. Green, we were able to carry that pregnancy all the way through. And so, again, my experience is limited, but when it comes to grief and loss, I definitely have been there, and I can understand how that feels. So I'm also an open book with my story as well, and what I tried, what I didn't try, what worked for me, what I enjoyed, what I didn't like, so you can ask any questions you want with that. Anyways, so we created this webinar in order for you to have an opportunity to just connect with the center. I know sometimes it can feel like you are a bit lost in the mix because it is such a big office, and you have so many appointments and you have so many medications and so many levels that you're keeping track of. So not really getting to take a deep breath and to speak with someone and to get those emotions out there can add on to your stress and add on to your challenging thoughts and challenging emotions that you encounter, especially if you're not seen in one of our offices. I know many clients who are out of town feel even one step more disconnected just because they're not in the office seeing our faces all the time. So we created this webinar to give you the opportunity to connect with us a little bit better and to connect with myself, and just to get a better sense and feel of our facility and our beliefs and our way of treatment. So this webinar is supposed to be interactive. I encourage you to ask as many questions as you want. Again, I'm not a nurse, but I can offer any peer emotional support, some good coping tools, and help you work through anything that you're kind of struggling with right now. If you have a question in the back of your mind, but you're saying, oh, I don't know if I should ask it because there are other people logged into the webinar, don't worry, because I guarantee someone else has either been there or will be there, and so it will be helpful for everyone. Again, you can always just throw topics out as well, such as, I'm anxious about the holidays coming up. How do you cope with that? Just experienced a miscarriage. Do you have any coping tools for that? So whatever you're thinking, go ahead and type it in the question box. This video will also be available on YouTube afterwards, so that you can reference it, and so other clients as well can be able to view it afterwards if they were not able to make it to this webinar. But we wanted to give you as close to a support group experience as possible, even though I know this is not the same as attending an in-office support group. But have at it if you have any questions. I'll just start talking, and if you have anything, go ahead and interject. But what I wanted to talk about tonight is, we are close to the middle of November, just at the middle of November right now, and this is a time of year where we often meet up with friends and family members. We're getting together for various holidays and maybe office parties and family gatherings, and this is a great joyous time, but it also can be very challenging. If you're not taking good care of yourself, you're not giving yourself enough time, if you're not really giving yourself the patience and the space to breathe and to move forward and to relax, the holidays can be very challenging. And so what I'd like you to focus on around this time of year is really taking the time to slow down, to prepare, and to take things step by step. If you find that you are anxious or you start to have any negative emotions around the holidays, around family gatherings where there are lots of kids or possibly pregnant friends and family members, I really want you to take it slow, and I'd really like you to prepare ahead of time so that you're not thrown into these situations feeling overwhelmed, because that is not going to be good for your overall health, your mental health, and your fertility. So I'll touch on a couple of those coping tools to get you slowing down a little bit before the holidays, but we do have a couple questions, and so I'd like to touch on those first. The first question is, do you have any strategies to help move on from a failed cycle? Okay, so failed cycles, they're very hard in the sense that many women, I know myself included, I've done this before, can sometimes grieve failed cycles as a pregnancy loss. And that's not to diminish either pregnancy loss or a failed cycle. I say that because I want you to acknowledge all of the hope and all of the energy and the time and just the dreams that are placed behind this pregnancy, behind this cycle. Because I know that even for myself, after ovulation, I already have that child in mind. You're thinking about the child, you're thinking about the baby you're trying to conceive, hoping that you're pregnant. If you are doing a transfer, you're visualizing those embryos, wondering who those embryos are going to turn into, the kind of person they're going to be. And so, in a sense, it is a very real pregnancy that you have lost with a failed cycle, because it's that image and that idea and that place that you've carved out in your life and in your future. So even if the embryos don't implant, the IUI does not take, you do not have a clinically diagnosed pregnancy, and a clinically detected pregnancy, our minds and our hearts have created a pregnancy with each cycle. So if you're feeling like, I wonder if I'm getting a little too emotional or too worked up over a failed cycle, don't feel like that. Don't, remind yourself that it is okay to get emotionally worked up. It is okay to get to experience a lot of grief over this, because you have lost that image and that hope and that dream of a baby that you are so close to feeling, so close to having. Especially, I think there's an added stress when you go from maybe trying at home, trying on your own naturally, or trying a few things such as acupuncture or just diet and exercise on your own, to coming into our center, because suddenly there's this greater level of hope added on. There's this greater level of excitement, anticipation. We're much more intensive in our treatment than something you may try at home. We're much more intensive in our statistics and in our care. And so suddenly you go from just trying at home, maybe with your partner, and of course those cycles are very important. Those are hard to move, challenging to move beyond as well. But when you come into the center and suddenly you're at the fertility center, you're at the place where everything happens, and you see all those babies on the wall, and you hear all these great stories of women quickly getting pregnant and then leaving, I think it sometimes can kind of blow those images and blow those hopes and dreams of a pregnancy even further beyond what you had anticipated before and what you had hoped for before, because there is suddenly this greater level of hope, this greater level of promise of a pregnancy. So if you're especially just experiencing your first cycle with us and you're feeling a really big letdown from a negative test result, it's okay to feel suddenly this huge emotional release and this huge burden of a negative pregnancy test, where maybe in the past it didn't affect you as much. So just try and remember that you have added on all this hope, all this anticipation, all these expectations on yourself by coming into our center. And this also maximizes and it increases as you move on in cycle, because you're thinking, okay, I did the one, everyone does one test, you're trying to figure everything out, it's okay if it's negative. But then when you get on to, maybe your second or third or fourth failed cycle, if that happens, and you find yourself getting more and more disappointed every time, be nice and patient with yourself, because it's okay to grieve those. Now, for moving on and getting your hopes up for the next cycle again, right after your cycle, right after you get that negative pregnancy test, it may be very challenging to see yourself getting excited for your next cycle and see yourself moving on or see yourself ever conceiving. That's okay. That's completely normal. Many women experience that. It's kind of like that initial realization of the negative test result, the realization that all of the work and time and money and effort that you had put into this past cycle, or maybe even the past few years, did not work. It was not successful. So you're naturally going to feel a big letdown from that. That's okay. And very honestly, you may not feel as excited about your second or third cycle, and that's okay too. That's just your body and your mind and your heart trying to protect itself from getting hurt again, because you had gotten so hurt this first time. So if you're not feeling really excited about your next cycle, don't worry. It's not a big, not a big flag that you're not ready or that you're, not going to be successful. That is just your heart's way of protecting itself. Just like if you were to, I don't know, walk someplace and get hurt, physically hurt, you're going to be, you slip on the ice, so you get hurt when you walk out your door. The next time you walk out your door, you're going to walk very carefully. You're going to walk much more slowly. You're not going to run out the door as excited you were that first time when you slipped and fell and hurt yourself. Your body does the same thing. Your mind and heart do the same thing. So if you're trying to get yourself geared up for the next cycle and to feel hopeful again, to feel excited again, what I do recommend to everybody is to change something about your cycle. Even if we don't necessarily change anything within our center regarding your treatment, your protocol, your medications, you can change something yourself so that you feel and you know that you're doing something differently. And that, I think, helps us remember that we're not going to repeat the cycle, the same exact cycle like last time. This gives us an added bit of hope, because in the back of your mind, you know you're doing something new and different and healthy. So what I'd like you to do is, for your next cycle, pick some good, healthy, and fertility supportive task that you can accomplish. Even if it is just you commit yourself and you promise to go in for a 10-minute walk, outdoors, or, it's getting cold, so inside on a treadmill, 2 to 3 times a week. You put that on your calendar. So 2 to 3 times a week, you're going to walk for 10 minutes and get some good exercise, get your heart rate going, and you're going to get that blood moving. You commit to doing this throughout your entire cycle. This is something that is going to support your health, support your mind, your emotional wellness, and your fertility. So this is something different that you're doing, a controlled change that you're taking to improve your fertility, improve your cycle, and your outcomes for the next time. It's completely different from the last cycle because it's something you didn't do before, completely different than any of the other cycle previously, and so this may be just the change that you need. Now, if that isn't something that appeals to you, that's fine. You could commit to going to Yoga for Fertility 2 to 3 times, which is free, by the way, at our center. I'm not trying to sell you anything. You could commit to doing the free acupuncture session with your transfer or your IUI if that's something you hadn't done before. You can commit to a date night with your partner where you just go and you enjoy a nice meal, either cook it at home or go out and do something special that is just romantic and relaxing between the two of you. You can commit to taking a warm bath every night and just relaxing with a good book, or taking a warm bath twice a week, taking time for yourself and just cooling down for a few minutes. But add something in that you are going to look forward to, something that you can accomplish. Don't commit to going to yoga every single day of your cycle, because that's just not really realistic for most people, and you don't want to disappoint yourself. But pick some small task that you can take control over. You can take control of that part of your fertility and your cycle and focus on that as your commitment to yourself to improve your outcomes. So that's something that you can do so that you don't feel like you're just walking right into the same cycle as before. But in regards to your emotional wellness and your emotions from that big letdown, you just have to be patient with yourself. On the website, I do have a grief handout, and it should be right on our website, or if you go under support and you click on the support tab, you'll see next to my name there's a link on understanding grief. And if you can't find it, email me and I'll send it to you. But it's a nice handout just on grief and the stages of it, because you are grieving. And the handout is geared more towards pregnancy loss, but it fits into this just as well. So really be patient with yourself. Breathe through your thoughts. If you find the negativity or the sadness or the depression kind of recurring throughout the day, try and just say to yourself, I'm feeling depressed. I need a few moments. Acknowledge it. Maybe write it down in a notebook. Give yourself a few minutes to feel whatever you're feeling. Cry if you have to. Get angry if you have to. And then after a few moments, physically change what you're doing. Change your location. Change your activity. And those thoughts are going to creep in again. So acknowledge them. Either say them to yourself. Write them down. I'm feeling depressed right now. I'm feeling angry. Let yourself feel it for a few minutes so you don't just bury it. And then remove yourself from the situation. Change where you are, change your activity, change your thoughts. And then it'll come back again, but you can try and oscillate yourself like that a little bit. But be very patient with yourself, and you will come through this, and you will get geared up for the next cycle, and you will look forward to it again. And just because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negatives does not mean that you won't conceive again. I've had wonderful stories of women who have had really long journeys, but then ending up with beautiful children of their own. Okay, let's see. Already completed 2 IVF cycles and did not work. Having a 3rd cycle soon. Cannot avoid thinking that your body failed and you're so upset about it. Do you have a recommendation to work on those feelings? Okay, so many of the, let's see. How do you expect, I'm going to go, these are all very similar. How do you accept unexplained infertility, particularly after 4 IVF failures in 1 year? Okay, so tonight we are talking about IVF failures. that is our theme for tonight. For right now, if you have other thoughts and questions, please send them in. Okay, so I just received a lot of questions about IVF failures, negative cycles, and accepting that. And acceptance is kind of a tough word for accepting that. When it comes to being a mother and comes to your fertility, I'm not sure if you're ever really going to accept that. And I don't say that to be negative. I don't want you to put this great pressure on yourself, saying, I have to just accept this, it is what it is. Because there's our emotional desire to have a child, but then there's also that very primal, natural urge to have a child that I think many of us experience. And that I don't think can necessarily be accepted right off the bat and just, I'm done with, it's okay, I accept it. I just want you to be nice and patient and calm with yourself in regards to how you're feeling in the sense of really wanting to keep pushing forward and not really okay with the fact that you haven't conceived yet. It's okay to not be okay with it. This is a huge part of your life and your plan that you're talking about. This isn't just selecting a new car. This is your child that you want. So it's okay to not be okay with it right now. So give yourself that out. That's all right to do. Multiple failed IVF cycles, unexplained infertility. Really, the issue here is not having any answers. So we don't have an answer as to why your body is not accepting these embryos. We don't have an answer as to why you're not conceiving right now. And we don't have really an answer to your challenges with fertility in the first place. And so I think a lot of times clients will feel like they're kind of grasping at straws here, just trying to figure out, okay, can we find an issue somewhere? Can we find a problem so that we can focus on that problem? Because I think the unexplained tends to make us just put the blame on our entire being, on our entire selves. It's not like you can say, oh, my left ovary really just doesn't produce follicles and the tube is blocked, so that is why. It's that darn left ovary, that darn tube. I think if there was a person or a thing to point a finger at, it'd be a lot easier. But then, since many clients don't have an explanation, a clear reason why this isn't working, this isn't working, this is what we need to do, the blame just kind of goes systemic. The blame goes throughout the entire body and the entire being, which of course really isn't fair. It's not fair to blame your whole self, to blame you for your inability to conceive at this moment, because it's nothing that you did or you didn't do. It's nothing that you can necessarily will yourself to do. It's not like you can really find out and figure out why exactly your follicles, your eggs, just are not working, connecting well with this sperm and creating a child and then implanting. There are so many stages to this that, if we're unable to pinpoint something, if we're unable to find that person, that thing to point the finger to, it's very easy to just take on all of the blame. But the blame is not to be held upon you and upon your shoulders. This is something that we just don't understand and we don't know at this point. But I do know that it is very easy to internalize all of the blame when something happens, such as a miscarriage, like I had experienced. I very quickly tried to take all the blame upon myself. But then I realized that there was so much beyond my control and so much that I could not control. And carrying that blame was not going to help me conceive again and carry a child to full term. That being said, it is very challenging to work through the emotions of multiple IVF cycles, failed, and especially the challenge of unexplained infertility. So to work with these challenging emotions, I've covered multiple times the importance of being kind and patient with yourself, taking plenty of you time. This point in your life, it's okay to be very careful and gentle and patient with yourself, to give yourself plenty of time, pamper yourself. If you need to say no to commitments, it's okay to say no to commitments. It's okay to, take that massage. It's okay to take that extra long shower. Whatever you need to do to make sure that you're taking care of yourself is most important. Because if your body's feeling rested and healthy, you're giving yourself a much better venue for these emotions to work themselves through. Additionally, it's very important to keep talking about it. If you don't talk about it with your extended friends and family members, if you're unable to really connect with your partner about this, very important for you to find someone that you can talk to. You need to get those emotions out. You can't just keep them inside and keep them in your brain and just keep mulling over them over and over again. It's not productive. You're not going to suddenly will yourself into feeling like you can accomplish everything and feeling like you can succeed by going over these negative emotions. They really aren't going to do anything. And they're really not going to create a change. I just got a little warning that I may be having an internet connection, so let me know if you can't hear me or if you can't see me. But I'll keep going. So reviewing these negative emotions really isn't going to do anything for you. So what we need to do is try and break that cycle. The negative thoughts and negative emotions and the concern and worry are going to happen. That's just natural. We can't expect you to be positive all the time, but a couple of the strategies and tools for coping with these emotions are setting the timer and oscillating thought. So I briefly mentioned oscillating thought a little bit before, and what you want to do is acknowledge your emotion outright. So you're feeling anxious, you're feeling stressed, you're feeling angry. I'd like you to write the emotion down, say it out loud, say it to yourself, say it to your partner. I do this all the time. The poor guy. If it's especially after the miscarriage, I say, I'm just feeling really angry right now. I'm sorry. I need a few minutes. I'm just feeling angry. And for some reason, once I can say it out loud and just get it out there, even if I don't say anything else, even if I don't say what I'm feeling angry about, just saying out loud, I'm just feeling really angry right now, it seems to alleviate a lot of the feelings within. So say it out loud, write it down, crumple it up. If you're at work, throw it in the garbage. Whatever you need to do to acknowledge the emotion. And then let yourself feel it for a few minutes. This may seem counterintuitive, but you don't want to bury the emotion down. You want to let yourself feel it. Let yourself get angry, let yourself cry for a few minutes if you're able to. Let yourself run through the thoughts for a little bit. And then after a few moments, very brief, 2 to 3 minutes if you have to do it, then walk away, do something physically different, change your position, change your activity, say that's enough for right now, you'll come back to it later, and then change your thoughts and change where you are. This will help a little bit. It takes a lot of practice to do this, to be able to say, okay, I'm just really angry right now, feel it a little bit, say, all right, that's enough, and then change what you're doing. But at least that can give you some good quick go-to if you're at work or something and you really can't deal with these emotions the way you really want to. The second one is setting the timer. Now this is a great activity if you find yourself running through your previous cycles over and over again, especially at night before we fall asleep, which is a very common time to do it. Or when you're driving in the car. That used to be the worst for me. After our loss, I used to hate driving anywhere because a darn song would come on and you start crying and you think about it all over. But setting the timer is good if you find yourself running through these thoughts often, or if they are kind of monopolizing your day, because you can't just sit at work and think about this all day long. You have to be able to work. You have to be able to function. And so what you can do is set your timer, your alarm on your phone, or wherever, alarm clocks, I forget that they exist, for 10 or 15 minutes. And during those 10 or 15 minutes in the evening when you're home quietly, you get to run through all these thoughts, everything that you've been thinking about, every emotion related to your fertility. You can be angry, upset, you can review every previous cycle, whatever you need to do to just get it out for 10 or 15 minutes every day. But then when the alarm goes off, you have to put it down. You have to put those thoughts down until the next day. They're going to be there. Those concerns are going to be there. But you have that 10 or 15 minutes a day that you can commit to processing all of this, processing all these thoughts. And that's your time to move through all these emotions. But when that alarm goes off, you have to put it down and you have to give yourself a break for the rest of the night. And then the next day, when you get to your segmented time, you can run through it again. But being a little bit more tough with yourself, giving yourself the opportunity to run rampant with these, but then putting it down so that it doesn't monopolize. Additionally, with multiple failed cycles, you can kind of sometimes clients will start to get the feeling of, well, when do I stop? When is it enough? And I hate to bring this up, but it's something I think is important to be said, because when you go through multiple cycles, I imagine that those thoughts start to creep in, like, when are we going to run out of money? When are we going to run out of time? When is it realistic to keep going? And the only thing I can really say to that is um, many clients, as long as they still have the resources to go, I know that there are financial constraints that some clients have to stop before they're ready. But if you're able to keep going and you still have that drive and you still have that feeling, then it's not time to give up. I have met a few clients who felt that they almost felt satisfied in that they had tried everything that they could. They had exhausted all of their resources, their time, and physically and emotionally they exhausted all their resources. And so they had a bit of contentment to themselves in that they felt like they had done everything that they could have. They said that before they never felt like they would ever get to this point, but then they were almost okay with it because they had gone as far as they could and they felt like they had given it everything. If you're not feeling that, then I wouldn't even really try and talk yourself into it. If you're not feeling like you're ready to stop, then keep going. And you know what you have to do to keep yourself healthy, to keep yourself motivated, and stay with it as you keep going. But don't let anyone else tell you that it's time to stop. Even if you've had, multiple cycles that have come up negative, if it's not time for you, then it's not time for you. And this is your body and your family and your child that you're working to create. And so you know yourself best. So if you need to keep going, you need to kind of suck it up and get on with the next cycle and push through it, then that's what you have to do. And I'm always here to offer you emotional support and to help you through it and to be your cheerleader and to encourage you. But if that's what you're feeling and you still have that drive to keep going, then it's important to acknowledge the sadness of the lost cycles and acknowledge the loss there. In, like I said before, each cycle holds a dream, holds a child that you're working to conceive, and holds that hope that you've carved out in your future. So acknowledge those and remember those and feed off of those in the sense of you have to keep going, you want to keep going, and use that to motivate you through your next cycle. And all you can do is try your best. Beyond that is that unknown that we don't know, that we can't point our finger at, and that we can't blame. And while that is challenging, we just have to keep moving forward, because you may never get a reason for your infertility. You may never get an answer as to why your cycle failed or you lost a child. And once we can accept that we may never have the answer, then the battle may be a little bit easier. Instead of trying to find all these places to blame or find different ways to pinpoint that we can improve our fertility and improve the next cycle, if maybe we lose that kind of sharpshooting that we're trying to do to fix the cycle, maybe we can move on to the next step of overall health, overall fertility, overall happiness, and an overall effort to move forward through these cycles. But I can imagine that the unexplained part is very challenging to deal with. I found an unexplained miscarriage to be incredibly challenging because I felt like I had done everything right. I had taken all of my medications. I had done all my blood draws. I had, not eaten chocolate or coffee or wine or anything like that. And to still have that unexplained is very challenging to deal with. So I'm very sorry that you're dealing with that. And I'm also very sorry to those who have expressed that they had had a failed cycle, multiple cycles, because it is the loss to grieve, because you do have that hope. But try and use the motivation of moving through, because you're not done yet. You're not satisfied with your family yet. It still feels a little bit incomplete. So keep moving forward with it and be very patient and calm with yourself. I know that was a lot of rambling. I hope that was helpful. And if you have any follow-up questions or thoughts to that, please let me know and I will cover them. I'm going to go on to this next question right now. So my husband and I have not told our family we have been trying to conceive. He wants them to know. I do not, due to all the complications we've had, but it's a huge issue between us right now. How do we come to a truce, and how do you know when it's time to tell your family? Okay. Telling a family is very challenging. It's one of those things where in my experience, just with my own cycle, and just being in this position, I don't know how many women I've spoken to and supported through their cycles. And I think many of the other women listening in right now would agree that you have to be selective if you're going to tell anyone. And you also have to be a gatekeeper to the information that goes out. Um, for example, you know, I had, I've had many women say that, it's usually with the first 1 or 2 cycles that if you agree to tell people, you tell a lot of people. And a lot of clients will start out telling many people and their friends and family members. Some people do Facebook updates, going in for my ultrasound today, going in for our consultation, and kind of giving people a play-by-play because they're excited, because there's that hope that I had talked about in the beginning, that great hope and promise that we offer, that many clients do in fact leave with babies. I know it's hard to believe sometimes, but many clients do leave with babies. But when you come to our center, you're filled with all this hope and this excitement and promise. And you also want to have some nice cheerleaders around you. You want your friends and family rooting for you when you're going through these cycles and when you're battling your fertility. But telling a lot of people creates this expectation and this great cheering squad for you, but then it's also a lot of people who are waiting for these answers and kind of maybe asking questions or wondering what's happening. And so it really depends on your comfort level with A, how much you're going to share, and B, how much you're going to accept or reject this perceived support that you're receiving, the conversations about it. If that's going to help you, if you feel like you will benefit from sharing your story, from kind of getting it out there, feeling like you can talk to people about it, then it may be a good idea to share. But I am always hesitant to encourage people to share their story if they're not really ready to. And the reason is that if you get that negative test result, if your first cycle is not successful, if you conceive early and then you end up losing the pregnancy, suddenly you have to endure this information yourself, and then you have to tell 15, 20 people about this again, and it's almost like you relive getting that phone call again. And then I used to call it the sad eyes. You get the sad eyes from people when you see them at holidays and get-togethers. So you only want to get those sad eyes from people that will really be supportive, people that you want to get it from. So if you think that your mother is going to be very supportive, she's going to love you through this, she's going to give you your space when you need it, or let you know that she's there, and she'll give you appropriate support and encouragement, then maybe share with her. You don't have to be specific. You don't have to say, I'm going into this test, this test. I have to get, dye shot up my uterus and into my tubes, and my husband has to do a sperm sample. You don't have to get that specific, but you could just say, hey, we're working with a physician on our fertility. We're trying to conceive. It's been a little bit of a challenge. But it's important to make sure that if you do decide to share, that you agree to who you're going to share the information with, how much, and how often. Your partner may be feeling like he needs to share with someone because, the men are in on it too. And they often face just as many challenging emotions, but they may not express it at the same time. So he may be feeling like he wants to share with someone in his family or one of his close friends. Not, anything negative against you, but, there are definitely some conversations that you may have with your sister or your mom that go a little bit differently than you would with your partner. So if he's feeling that, ask him about it. Ask him the real reason why he wants to share. Who does he want to share with? And how much does he want to talk about it? And you may find that you may be a little bit more comfortable with that, but there has to be a great sense of trust in the sharing that happens. You have to trust that he's not going to give a play-by-play to all these people if that's not what you want. And similarly with you, he has to be able to trust you, and that you won't share, very specific details about his fertility to maybe his friends, or if you're friends with one of his friends' wives or something like that. But really, the great benefit and the great challenge of this information sharing is making sure that you're a good gatekeeper and that you can trust who you're sharing with. Because the last thing that you want is someone to know that you're really not comfortable with, and then to feel that, the uncomfortable sad eyes that I call, or just feeling it, this is such a personal experience and personal challenge that you're encountering. And so You really want to keep it close to your heart. And if you're really adamant about not sharing with someone, maybe you can go to a support group session together. If he feels like he needs to talk about this with someone else or connect with someone else, because remember, infertility can feel very isolating. You may not feel isolated right now, but he may feel isolated. So maybe he's feeling this need to share. So maybe offer to bring him to a support group. We do have many men that come to them. Maybe offer to bring him to more of your appointments. If he's able to come, then maybe he'll feel a little more involved in it. But if I do feel that it's important, if it's very important for you not to share this, if for some reason it's causing a lot of stress or anxiety with you because of your history, then either be very specific with him about who he can share with. Maybe he can choose a friend. If you're comfortable and you feel secure with one of his good friends, you know that they won't tell it beyond their conversations. You know that it'll stay between them. Maybe that's a gift that you can give to your partner if you feel that that's something that he really needs. But if not, if it's something that you can talk about more together, you can find another source, you could even go to one of our great counselors together as a couple and share in that safe environment, then maybe that's a good middle ground. But it's always very important to have a good, honest conversation for all couples about what you're sharing, who you're sharing it to, when, how often. Because like I said, it can be very disappointing to have to get that negative test result and then have to respond to all those texts and emails and whatnot. And it's important for those who you do share with to respect your boundaries. You don't want to tell your grandmother and then suddenly all your aunts and uncles know. That's very challenging to deal with as well. But I do have, on the website, I do have another article about how to support a loved one experiencing infertility. And this is a good resource for if you do decide to tell your mom, you do decide to tell your sister, you could point them in that direction. And it's just a nice list of ways for them to support you. And if you look at it, I can always send it out. Most often it talks about respecting boundaries. If you're a person that does not like to talk about this often, you do not like to have a lot of phone calls or emails about it, it's important for them to know your boundaries and for them to respect it. So that article is on there if you're ever interested in giving that out or directing people to it, if you let them know. But since you're feeling hesitant and he is feeling like he wants to share, I would have that conversation about the importance, what's really driving his desire to share, who he wants to share it with, how much, how often, and then really set specific parameters and say the words to him, this is very important to me. I need this. I need you to respect this. I need you to protect me at this moment because I'm feeling, like this is new, this is challenging, especially since you're just starting with our center. There's a lot going on. So you may say as well, I'm not comfortable sharing now. Let's talk about it again after we, are in the middle of our first cycle or after our first cycle. Give me a little bit of time there to get settled in at the center because you are taking on a lot right now first coming into here. And I know other people listening will agree that there are a lot of emotions that go into it. And so you only ever want to tell someone that you feel will support you and you feel that will respect you and that you can get good, healthy support from. So I hope that's helpful. I wish I could give you an answer as to, whether you tell someone or not, but you really just need to both honestly assess why you do or why you don't want to share, and then come to some sort of middle ground and that you both feel like you're giving a little bit. Because if you are so polarized on it, you will both have to give something a little bit. And that may be you saying, I'm not willing to share right now. I will reconsider it once we have our consultation appointment, or I will reconsider it after our first cycle. Or he may be saying, I really need to share. I won't share with a lot of people, but can I please just talk to my dad about it? I feel like it's important for me to talk to my dad and respect that. And he needs to respect you as well. But it comes down to a really honest conversation about trust and respect, essentially. So I hope that was helpful. And welcome to our center, by the way. Okay, well, we're getting towards the end of time. Any other topics or questions that you guys have. I know I covered a lot and there was a lot of chatting on my side, so I apologize for that. I hope I kind of covered everything that you need and gave you some good tips. If you want some help getting pointed in the direction of those articles, again, if you can email me and I can email them out to you. I discussed the grief article, which I think is important for everyone to read because everyone here is experiencing some form of grief, whether it be a pregnancy loss, negative test result, kind of the loss of that dream, that future that you had, that plan. This is all grief that needs to be assessed and worked through. Remember setting the timer. Remember the oscillating thought, kind of going back and forth between acknowledging and throwing that thought out loud and then moving on. And remember the honest conversation between you and your partner or whoever you're going to share this information with, and being kind to yourself, taking it slow. Oh, and also adding in something new for your next cycle if you feel like you need to become a little bit more hopeful, like you've changed something. But be patient with yourself. Be very kind with your emotions. Get angry if you have to get angry. Get sad and cry if you have to. And just remember that it's not over until it's over, and it's not over until you're feeling like it's over. So it's okay to not feel like you're there yet. That's normal. And that just means that you need to kind of keep pushing through. We have amazing support opportunities at our centers. We have our support groups. We have this webinar every month. I do a meditation webinar every month. And we have that great list of counselors that I have compiled for you. And if you're local to one of our centers, you can do our Yoga for Fertility sessions for free. And we do have a peer support group, the Fertile Friends Gathering, that meets either before or after, depending on the location. And that is free as well. And that's like an impromptu support group with the Yoga for Fertility girls. So check that out as well. But you can always email me. I'm available by phone too if you ever want to chat. Okay, I just got a question about where can you find the article. Let's see, the grief article, if you're at cmyfertility.com and you go to, and you click on the support tab, scroll down and you'll see my big old picture there. And in the little paragraph next to my photo, you'll see links to all of these articles, because these are my main ones going right now. So you'll see there's a holiday support guide, so talking all about coping tools for the holidays. You'll see the Understanding Grief article right there, and you'll see the Supporting a Loved One with Infertility article. There's also an Honoring the Miscarriage article there too, if that applies. But again, it's at cmyfertility.com. You click on support, and you should see my photo there. If you can't find it, email me, and I can help you. I can just send it to you as a text document, or I can send you the link. And just for good measure, I'll throw my email up there for everybody. So again, you can email me, or it should be right in there. See My Fertility, and then support. If you click on that, there should be links to the articles. So let me know if you can't find those. I can email them to you or point you in the right direction. Okay. Well, I hope you all found this helpful. I found some good answers to the challenging questions that you had. And again, I'm very sorry that you're all experiencing infertility. This is not a fun road. It's a long road. And it takes a lot of endurance. And really, what I've learned from supporting all of the clients from all these years is that it's those who are persistent and those that endure and those who are constantly almost recreating their fertility, recreating their approach, their health, their emotional wellness. The ones that are really sticking with it are the ones that create those great stories that we love to tell. Those ones who just endured all those cycles, those ones who endured all those challenges and got those beautiful babies after. It's really the most persistent ones, the ones who just take the journey as it comes and just keep, plowing along the way. Those are the ones that we really create those great stories with. And so I encourage you to try and stick with it. If you feel like you're losing hope, you feel like you're losing the battleground there, take a look at our success stories. And remember that all those women felt the same way you did at one point as well. And they pushed through. And try and find some good encouragement and support from them. And I'm always available as well. You can contact me, you can email me or call me. and I'll always give you a good pick-me-up, and always just direct you towards some good support opportunities as well. Well, thank you very much for listening tonight. If there aren't any other questions or comments, I'll end for the evening, and please let me know if there's anything else that I can ever do for you, or if you have any thoughts you'd like to run by me, or you'd like to connect with those counselors. You can also find the counselor list, that's what I wanted to remind you, on our website. So if you go to cnyhealingarts.com, support counselors, you'll see all the local counselors that I refer to, and I do have some other ones that will get on the site. So you can always email me that about that, and I can point you in the direction to some good local counselors. Okay. I hope you have a great evening, and please let me know if there's ever anything else that I can do for you. Have a great night.